تحفز النفس الكريمة تبتغي الجنات بحلول شهر الصوم والرحمات والرضوان.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In the 21st juz of the Quran, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is instructed at the very beginning of the juz, which is a conclusion of Surah Al-Ankabut, that to recite what has been revealed upon him from the Kitab and to establish salaam. Thereafter, the Ummah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is instructed in a method and how to approach and to speak to the Ahl al-Kitab, the people of the book, wherein Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, do not quarrel, do not argue, do not confront with the people of the book, illa billati hiya ahsan, except in such a way in that which is the very best. Now, what does this mean? That in engaging with the people of the book, there should be courtesy, there should be decorum and respect, yet at the same time remaining firm upon the principles of one's deen. There should be no approach of argumentation, neither should there be an approach of antagonism and hatred of any sort towards the individuals of the Ahlul Kitab, but the approach should be one here ahsan, that the argument, the content of the argument, the discussion and the mood of the discussion be the very best. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, however, excludes illa alladhina dhalamu, except those who have committed dhulam and oppression from them. That not all will be dhalimeen, but those who are dhalimeen and oppressors from them, then you do not approach them in a way that is necessarily respectful or overtly kind, but rather you be firm with them because of their dhulam, rather because of what is their belief structure. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala thereafter tells the believers that you should resort to this particular discussion. Qulu, you say, Amanna billadhi unzila ilayna, that believe, bring iman with that which has been revealed to us and revealed to you. Wa ilahuna ilah wa ilahukum wahid, and our God and your God is but one. This is an indication of the necessity of da'wah towards the people of the book, the Yahud and the Nasara. And it's not to be automatically expected that they are worthy of Jannah, that they are regarded as believers as well, whilst they remain on their current state of being the people of the book. If that was the case, then calling them towards the oneness of Allah, calling them towards Iman would not have been necessary. But the fact that the believers here and other places as well are commanded to call them towards Deen indicates that their current status quo which they occupy is not a correct one. Yes, at the same time, the believers are told to be courteous, but a believer does not accept that the status quo of the Ahlul Kitab is an acceptable one, guaranteeing them Jannah and bringing them within the ambit and the fold of Islam. Because ultimately, if they do not accept the Iman revealed upon the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the Deen sent down in the final testament, the Quran, then they will still be regarded as disbelievers, still be regarded as kuffar. Hence, the take-home lesson is that you approach them in the most courteous of ways, understanding that they are incorrect, that they are in need of guidance at this point in time, and it should not be expected that they are automatically entered into Jannah in their current state of disbelief. The juz rather continues, and it continues and towards the end, Surah Luqman. Surah Luqman is named after a wise sage of Islam. Luqman alayhi salatu wasalam is generally considered by the historians, and whilst there isn't a unanimous outcome, there's various comments on who Luqman alayhi salatu wasalam was. He indeed was a righteous individual. The difference of opinion may be that was he a Nabi or was he regarded as a wise individual. Nonetheless, his wisdom, which extols and which represents the ayats of the Quran, which is revealed via a discussion that he has with his son, indeed is full of wisdom and eternal lessons. In that discussion, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَإِذْ قَالَ لُقْمَانُ لِإِبْنِهِ, that remember that time when Luqman alayhi salatu wasalam tells his son, وَهُوَ يَعِذُهُ, whilst he was advising him. And this is an important point, that it is necessary to advise your children. It is necessary to have these deeni discussions with them from time to time to ensure that you have fulfilled your responsibility of conveying the ultimate message unto them. Ya bunayya, that, oh my dear son, la tushrik billah, the alpha lesson that every believing parent needs to impart to their child. Do not ascribe partners to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Thereafter, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaks of the kindness that a person is bound to show his parents. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also says that if you are in that predicament and position, which a number of the Sahaba radiallahu anhum found themselves in that particular position, وَإِنْ جَاهَدَاكَ عَلَىٰ أَن تُشْرِكَ بِي, that if they force you, if they coerce you into ascribing partners with me, then you do not follow them. But still at the same time, وَصَاحِبْهُمَا فِي الدُّنْيَا مَعْرُوفًا, you interact with them in the worldly affairs in a good way, but you do not subscribe to the shirk and the disbelief that they had now been attempting to impose upon you. The advice of Luqman alayhi salatu wasalam continues, and we will suffice upon one advice that he gives his son, wherein he says that, Ya bunayya, that, oh my dear son, إِنَّهَا إِن تَكُ مِثْقَالَ حَبَّةٍ, that if the day becomes that you are a single grain from mustard, and if you happen to be in a rock, and that rock happened to be, or you happen to be in the skies or in the earth, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will bring that seed forth. What is the intent of this discussion? He's intending to impress upon his son that the day will come that whether the remains of your body and your corpse finds himself in the sky in the form of a dust, or on top of a mountain, or in the earth, or even in the middle of a rock through some means of earth decompression or whatever, the day will come that decomposed body of yours, which has been scattered into billions of particles, will come together, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will bring you forth from wherever you find yourself. The ultimate lesson here, whilst it impresses upon the reader that Qiyamah is going to take place and that day is going to come, the ultimate lesson is the lesson of accountability. That no matter where you run, how you disappear in the dunya, in this world, you find yourself in the sky or on top of a mountain, the day of a reckoning and accountability is going to come to you. So he tells his son that all the sins one could possibly do, be it dhulam and oppression, whatever it may be, the day of accountability is going to come. And do not think that because your body may disintegrate to a point of nobody recognizing it, it may be even smaller or as small as a mustard seed that has lodged in the middle of a rock, still too, the day will come that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will bring it forth, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will cause that accountability. Thereafter, he speaks to his son about establishing salah, of commanding with good, prohibiting from evil. And then he says, وَاصْبِرْ عَلَى مَا أَصَابَكَ, calamities will reach you and come to you in life, but you remain patient upon whatever afflicts you. An absolutely vital lesson that every parent needs to teach their children, boys and girls for that matter. That it is not possible that you pass by life unless you are tested by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in some matter or the other, financial, health, whatever the case may be. But the response to that is that you remain patient, but then at the same time understand that this patience min azmil umur are from the great matters. It's not an easy task to in fact bear, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will make it bearable if you place your trust in Him. Then He counsels him, and we'll conclude upon this point, that never ever to be haughty and proud with people who are around you, or anybody for that matter. وَلَا تُصَعِّرْ خَدَّكَ لِلنَّاسِ, and do not turn your cheek away from people, in reference to where, which is a literal reference, and it's also a figurative expression. That let's assume that a person wants to ignore somebody else, and that ignoring is not simply because that person is annoying, but because the person who is doing the ignoring wants to show rank and file, that I'm superior over this particular person. So what would they normally do? Turn their cheek away, make like I never hear you, look in the other direction. Don't do that, but rather you maintain decorum, you remain a courteous individual no matter who is the person in front of you, and you do not adopt the methods of those who are arrogant with people. And where it comes to your general self, وَلَا تَمْشِي فِي الْأَرْضِ مَرَحًا, that do not walk in the earth, which is the earth of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in a way that is arrogant. For certainly Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not love every proudful and arrogant person, but rather the opposite. Be moderate in your walk. And this walk here, according to many scholars of tafsir, does not necessarily only imply the method of walking. It includes the method of walking as well, but it refers to the general demeanor of a Muslim, of a mu'min, as advised by Luqman alayhi salatu wasalam to his son. And walking is just used as a simile, and the actual intent is to describe the entire approach of a believer, that how you conduct yourself, walking, sitting, reclining, or otherwise, or even driving for that matter in our time. It should be done in a way of humility and in moderation. Moderation to a point, necessity, that's number one. Consideration for those who you are sharing the planet with. وَغْضُضْ مِنْ صَوْتِكَ, and you lower from your voice. There is no need to shout, no need to scream in order to make your point. Rather become noted as a person, as the common saying goes, that you have a soft voice but you carry a big stick, which means that you allow your character, your reputation sometimes to speak for you, but you do not raise your voice. Inna ankar al-aswat, certainly the most detested of voices is the lasautul hamir, the voice or the sound of a donkey braying. He advises him that sometimes people raise their voice to a point that all it sounds like to the people who are listening to them, even though the raiser of their voice has got the best of intentions, sounds like a donkey braying. In other words, it serves as an annoyance rather than a means of counsel. The intent of that person who's raising their voice might even be to counsel the people on better behavior, but because the method that they adopted was one of raising their voices to a point of annoyance, it did not receive and did not give its desired effect, but rather was counterproductive. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us tawfiq to imbibe these lessons. Ameen.
واكتب لنا أن ندخل الجنات بالريان.